And welcome, guys. This is Alka193 with the first official deck profile request. Of all the deck requests that I've done, that I've shown in duels, I've also done deck profiles. But from all of the other decks I've used, I've never done a deck profile. But as I've said in multiple videos before, I now also take requests for deck profiles of decks that I've used. So if there's a deck that I've used before in a video, so like my Gravekeepers, Lightsworn, Radius Horus Lockdown, Final Countdown, whatever. If you'd like to see a deck profile of one of those decks, tell me. Okay, on Duel 41, goldenflame295 suggested that I do a deck profile of my Dark Synchro deck, which is the one you can see right here. I guess I'll tell you first a bit about the backstory of the deck. I originally made this deck on Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2011, when I just got all the cards. I have the game open right now because there's some differences. For a few reasons. Because, well, mostly, in Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2011, the deck was a Turbo Duel deck. And clearly, there's no Turbo Duels on Dueling Network, so I had to change a few things. Because there's no speed spells. So, certain things that aren't speed spells, like Overboost, I had 2 copies of speed spell Overboost in my game. That doesn't exist on here. But on Dueling Network, you have, in regular duels, you have equip spells. Equip spells don't exist in Turbo Duels. So I had to change a few things. And also, in Turbo Duels, you have Speed Whirl 2 as a field spell. There's always a field spell active. Here it doesn't. That makes for a few differences. I'll get to those when we get to them. I guess so clearly, if I'm going to use my Dark Synchro deck, so it's based around the Dark Synchro monsters. I don't have all of them in here, but I have most. I have Dark Diviner, a level 4 Synchro monster, which requires 1 Dark Tuner and 1 non-tuner insect type. All Dark Synchro monsters, which were first released, at least the OCG, as Dark Synchro monsters, but in the TCG they've been released as regular Synchro monsters. But because they still have very powerful effects, they are quite a lot more difficult to summon. So they all require a tuner that is of the Dark attribute. That is why all the tuners in this deck are of the Dark attribute. And they require a non-tuner of a specific type. And the 4 Dark Synchro monsters that I have all need 1 non-tuner. It doesn't say 1 or more non-tuners, like for example 100 Eyes Dragon, which is a Dark Synchro monster that I don't have in this deck. I have here Dark Diviner and Underground Arachnid, a level 6, which both need 1 non-tuner insect type, and I have Frozen Fitzgerald and Z-Man the Ape King as level 5 and 7, which will both require a beast type. So I filled my deck with Dark Synchro, Dark Tuner monsters, and insect and beast types. Now let's go through the deck. I have 3 Ape Fighters here. They were also used in the anime by the person who used Z-Man the Ape King. It's a beast type, level 4, and it's quite a strong with 1900 attack, and it can even increase its attack points if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle. I have Blackwing, Gale the Whirlwind, 1 copy. It's a Dark Tuner, and it has very good effects that allows it to halve the attack and defense of 1 face-up monster the opponent controls once per turn. And I have a few other Blackwings here, as you can see, so when I have one of those on the field, I can special summon Gale and do 2 synchros in 1 turn, would I have the monsters for that. I have 1 Jin the Rain Shadow as a level 1 tuner, which usually is only used as a level 1 tuner, but if the opponent has a really strong monster, but that really strong monster has really low defense, and with really low defense I mean 600 or less, then if Jin the Rain Shadow battles that monster, then that monster is destroyed with Jin's effect, because if Jin battles a monster with defense equal to or less than this card's attack, that monster is destroyed at the start of the damage step. So Jin has to be in attack mode, because if it's face down at the start of the damage step, so make sure it's face up when you do that. Preferably you want to be the one attacking, because otherwise the opponent can take care of you by Lightning Vortex, Dark Hole, or whatever. I have Blackwing Kochi the Daybreak as a level 4 tuner. I believe this is my only level 4 tuner in the deck, but I wanted one in here, and it's a Blackwing, and it has pretty good defenses. I have 2 Blackwing Mistral the Silver Shield. Again, dark attribute just like all the other tuners. It's a level 2 and it has good defense, 1800. And when it's on the when this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, the next battle damage you take that turn becomes 0. So let's say the opponent has 2 monsters, which are like Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon, example. And Dark Magician destroys Blackwing Mistral, then Blue Eyes White Dragon's direct attack becomes, well, nothing because Mistral's effect makes the damage 0. But that's only for the next attack. So when they have a third monster, that third monster would be able to direct attack and inflict damage. Here I have 1 copy of Blade Rabbit because I wanted a level 2 beast monster. I'm probably going to like get rid of it and use Hane-Hane because Blade Rabbit's effect, I barely ever get to use it. So I'm probably gonna put a second Hane-Hane in the deck, but I'll just so you know. You know what? I'm gonna do that now, so you're seeing it during this here. Hane-Hane, out Blade Rabbit, in Hane-Hane. By Blade Rabbit, save deck. Here. I just changed it during the deck profile. Okay. Anyway, there's no Blade Rabbit in the deck. I have 2 copies of Dark Bug. The reason for this is that I have quite a lot of level 3 Dark tuners. 5, 6 in total. I have Blackwing Gale, I have 2 Dark Resonators, and 3 Junk Synchrons. When one of those level 3 Dark tuners is in the graveyard and I summon Dark Bug, I can select and special summon 1 level 3 tuner from my grave and special summon it. Because all of those are from the Dark attribute, I can immediately use them for the Synchro summon of Dark Definer. Or Armory Arm, would I want to, but usually I go for Dark Definer. I have 2 copies of Dark Resonator as a level 3 tuner, and once per turn it can't be destroyed by battle. Both yours and your opponent's turn, so that's very helpful. I have 2 copies of Des Koala as a level 3 beast, and it has a handy flip effect which can inflict damage. Here we have 1 copy of ESPer Store Sparrow. This is one of the cards that aren't, that isn't in my World Championship deck, for multiple reasons. 1, it didn't exist back then yet, and 2, in that World Championship deck I have 2 Earthbound Immortals, which are Chokapakapu and Chakuchalua, which are the Giant and the Whale. But seeing as there's no field spell on the field with this deck, I'm not going to rely on Earthbound Immortals, so I decided to put in 2 others instead. I put in ESPer Star Sparrow and Obelisk, but I'm thinking about replacing Obelisk. Would I decide to do that, you're going to see an annotation on the screen telling you what I replaced it with, but I don't really know right now, so not replacing it right now. Possibly a second Star Sparrow, maybe something else. I'll see. Okay, I have Grasschopper. It's pretty sure the only 1 tribute monster, yeah. And it's insect, so you can use a level 1 tuner with it, like Jin, to bring out Underground Arachnid, or you can bring out like a higher level tuner for Black Rose, Armor Masters, Z-Man, Stardust, Blackwing, Dragon Archfiend, something like that. I have now 2 copies of Hane-Hane, a level 2 beast, and with a handy flip effect of being able to return 1 monster on the field to its owner's hand. 1 copy of Howling Insect, which is a level 3 insect, and when it's destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can special summon 1 insect type with 1500 or less attack from your deck. So that way you can bring out an Eater Bug, a Level Eater, a Swarm of Scarabs, a Dark Bug, or whatever insect that you need for a Synchro summon the next turn. Or the same turn would you decide to like suicide with Howling Insect during your own turn. I have 3 copies of Junk Synchron. I believe this is a very helpful tuner. One because it's level 3, and the level 3 tuners, that's the ones I use most. And when it's normal summoned, it can special summon a level 2 or below monster from your graveyard. So it can bring out a Dark Bug from the grave for Dark Diviner, it can bring out a Hane-Hane from the grave for Frozen Fitzgerald, or a Nimble Momonga for that matter, a Man-Eater Bug for, well then, Cataster. It can also bring out a level 2 tuner, like Krebons or Blackwing Mistral, to like do a double synchro where you have a non-tuner on the field already. I have 1 copy of Krebons, a level 2 tuner which can negate attacks by paying 800 life points. 1 copy of Level Eater, a level 1 insect that can be special summoned from the graveyard if you have a level 5 or higher monster on your field and you lower its level by 1. 2 copies of Man-Eater Bug, because 1, it's a level 2 insect, and it has the helpful effect of being able to destroy one monster on the field with its flip effect. I have 3 copies of Nimble Momonga. It's a level 2 beast, and especially with Junk Synchron, but also with the other level 3 tuners, I like to have level 2 beasts because I really like using Frozen Fitzgerald. And when Nimble Momonga is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you not only gain 1,000 life points, but you can also summon up to 2 Nimble Momongas from your deck face down defense. So that's why I have 3 of those. I have 1 copy of Obelisk the Tormentor, although I'm probably going to replace that. I have 1 copy of Plaguespreader Zombie because it can special summon itself from the graveyard using its effect. 1 copy of Sinister Sprocket because I wanted 1 more level 1 tuner, and when it's used for the synchro summon of a Dark Synchro monster, you can destroy 1 face-up spell or trap card. So if the opponent has like Sword of Revealing Light, Wall of Revealing Light, Gravity Bind, Level Limit Area B, like such spells or traps, you can use this for a synchro summon of a Dark Synchro monster, and then do that. But do note that the Dark Synchro monster refers to the attribute, and not to the fact that in the OCG they were Dark Synchro. Dark Diviner is a dark attribute, but Frozen Fitzgerald is water, Underguard Arachnid is earth, and Z-Man is earth as well. So for Sinister Sprocket's effect to activate, you want to go with Dark Diviner, Cataster, Armed Wing, Armor Master, Blackwing, and Archfiend. I have 1 copy of Swarm of Scarabs, a level 3 insect, and once per turn you can flip it into face-down defense position using its effect, and when you flip summon it, you can destroy 1 monster the opponent controls. So would this card be in face-down defense position at the start of your turn, because the opponent didn't attack or you negated their attack, then you can flip summon it during your turn, destroy an opponent's monster, then use its effect to flip it face down again so that you won't take any damage when the opponent attacks. I have 1 copy of Vampire Koala, a level 4 beast just like Ape Fighter, which has a quite helpful effect, because if it battles an opponent's monster and inflicts battle damage during that battle, then you gain life points equal to the battle damage inflicted. I have 2 copies of the quick play spell Battle Tuned, because I have quite a lot of tuners in this deck. Sometime a tuner's got to enter the graveyard. And Battle Tune is a quick play spell that has you remove from play 1 tuner from your grave, and you target 1 face-up monster on the field, which usually you want to go for your own monster. And that monster gains attack power equal to the removed monster's attack. So let's say we have Frozen Fitzgerald on the field and the opponent has Blue Eyes White Dragon and they attack Frozen Fitzgerald. You use Battle Tune, banish, like let's say Junk Synchron. Frozen Fitzgerald will have 3,800 attack points and will be able to not only beat Blue Eyes, but Battle Tune's attack gain for the monster stays forever until that monster leaves the field. So that's very helpful. I have 1 copy of Level Tuning. This is a card that wasn't in my original deck, but I have it now because sometimes the levels just don't quite match for something I want to summon. Let's say I have Ape Fighter and I can summon Blackwing Mistral, but I want to bring out Frozen Fitzgerald, then that's not possible. So when I have Ape Fighter on the field, I use Level Tuning, lower its level to 3, then summon Mistral so I can synchro for level 5. Example. 1 copy of Monster Reborn to bring a monster back from the graveyard. If you can somehow get Obelisk to the graveyard, if the opponent uses card destruction, hand destruction, whatever, send this guy to the graveyard. It's going to be kind of hard to summon, or Star Sparrow for that matter. Then just use Monster Reborn to bring it back. You can also use Reborn to bring back a tuner or a non-tuner to get a new synchro summon in, or if you've successfully synchro summoned before but that monster's in the graveyard, you can bring that monster back. 1 copy of Mystical Space Typhoon to destroy 1 spell or trap on the field. Should be clear why that's in. 1/1, discard 1 monster, summon a level 1 from your hand or deck, which can be very helpful to bring out Sinister Sprocket or any of the other level 1s, so that's Jin or Darkbug if you need a non-tuner. 1 copy of Scapegoat, special summoning 4 sheep tokens. Originally I put this card in my deck because I thought, you know, then I'm going to do that and then go Junk Synchron and then use 2 of these tokens to go Frozen Fitzgerald. But then I found out that's not possible because Frozen Fitzgerald says 1 non-tuner and not 1 or more. So that's not possible, but you can still use those 4 level 1 tokens to bring out something. You can go for a level 4, you can go for like Armory Arm, you can go for LF Justice Cataster, you can go for Brionac, you can go for Black Rose Dragon. All of them with Scapegoat and 1 of the tuners. I have 1 copy of Shard of Greed, another card that isn't my original deck, but when I built this deck on here, I decided to replace 1 of my cards with Shard of Greed, because I quite like it to draw cards. Even though, possibly I'll replace this one as well. Again, if that happens, I'll post a annotation. I have the spell called Shield Crush, which destroys 1 opponent's defense position monster, which I find helpful, because sometimes they place a defense and then this immediately destroys it. I don't have to be afraid of high defense power or flip effects. 1 copy of Stray Lambs in there for almost the same reason as Scapegoat, only this one summons 2 tokens and it's not a quick play spell, but it's still helpful. I have Swords of Revealing Light to block attacks the opponent wishes to use. I have 1 Synchro Blast Wave. If I control a face-up Synchro monster, I can destroy 1 monster the opponent controls. I have 1 Synchro Boost, which increases the level of the equipped monster by 1 and its attack by 500. It's the level that matters for a Synchro summon, but also the attack might just help. I have 1 copy of the spell Tuning, which adds a Synchron tuner from my deck to my hand. In this deck that's only Junk Synchron, so I'll add Junk Synchron to my hand, and then I send the top card of my deck to the graveyard. So hopefully that's a card like Obelisk that I don't really want to draw, but will be very helpful in the graveyard, because I can summon it with like Monster Reborn. I could also summon it with Call of the Haunted, of which I have 1 copy to bring back a monster from my grave. 2 copies of Dark Bribe to negate any spell or trap. I could also use like 7 Tools of the Bandit, Magic Jammer, Magic Drain, things like that, but then the opponent can either negate that by discarding a spell, like with Magic Drain, and with Magic Jammer and 7 Tools of the Bandit, you have to discard a card yourself or pay 1,000 life points. And Dark Bribe doesn't have anything negative on you. You can always play it when the opponent plays a spell or trap. The opponent does draw 1 card, but it doesn't have anything negative for yourself, which I very much like. I have 2 copies of Magic Cylinder. Really like this trap because it not only negates an opponent's monster's attack, but also inflicts damage equal to their attack points. So if they have a really strong attack, power monster, you not only negate their attack, but they get a crap ton of damage. Mirror Force should be clear why it's in. It can destroy a lot of powerful monsters the opponent has. 1 copy of Nightmare Wheel, which makes targets 1 monster on the opponent's side of the field, and while this card is face up, the opponent's monster that this card has targeted cannot attack and cannot change its battle position either. And during your own standby phase, so the controller of Nightmare Wheel, 500 damage is inflicted to the player that controls the monster that Nightmare Wheel is used on. I have 2 copies of Synchro Deflector. It's quite often that I have a Synchro monster on my field with this deck, so Synchro Deflector can negate an attack that is aimed at a Synchro monster and then destroy 1 monster the opponent controls, which is very helpful. I use this card in Duel 41 to take out my opponent's Thought Ruler Archfiend. It was very helpful. I have 1 copy of Synchro Material, a trap card, which lets me target 1 monster the opponent controls and use it for my Synchro summon this turn. But I cannot conduct the battle phase during the turn I activate this card, so that's kind of bummer. I have 1 copy of Urgent Tuning. This trap lets you perform a Synchro summon during the battle phase. So let's say I have Junk Synchron and Des Koala on the field. During the opponent's battle phase, they want to attack, but then with like a 2000 attack monster, I use Urgent Tuning to bring out Brionac, then suddenly they can't do anything. I can also use this during my own turn if I have, like, let's say, just Junk Synchron and Ape Fighter on the field. I attack with Ape Fighter, I attack with Junk Synchron, then play Urgent Tuning to Synchro summon Z-Man, and then I can still attack with Z-Man, so that's very helpful to get extra damage in. And then finally, in the 60 card deck, I have 1 copy of Wicked Rebirth, which lets you revive a Synchro monster from your graveyard by paying 800 life points. It just can't declare an attack that turn it's summoned and its effect is negated, but then you usually use that Synchro monster for a new Synchro summon of a stronger monster. And the reason I have 60 cards in this deck is because this wasn't supposed to be like the best meta deck ever. It still isn't. But I just wanted to include so many cards that it wasn't possible with 40, so I made it 60. This deck does quite well against meta, doesn't win everything. There's no deck that wins everything. This deck does quite well, has won quite a few duels against meta. So this deck is definitely not to be underestimated, but it's not the best either, but it's quite a good one. In the extra deck, I have one copy of Armory Arm and one copy of Dark Diviner. I didn't want just Dark Diviner as the level 4 Synchro because sometimes I get combos that don't really work, like Mistral and Hane-Hane. They can't make Dark Diviner, so I put in Armory Arm as well as a second level 4 Synchro. I have Frozen Fitzgerald as a level 5 Synchro, and for the same reason as Armory Arm being put in, I put in Catastor, but also Catastor because it just has really helpful effect. Then I have a Blackwing Armwing. I have 5 Blackwing tuners in here, so I can also bring out Blackwing Synchro monsters. Yeah, that's really it. I have Brionac because it's a very useful monster with a very useful effect. One copy of Underground Arachnid, one of the Dark Synchros that I wanted in my deck. It can take control of one of the opponent's monsters once per turn. No, not take control. It can equip that card to this card as an equip card. And if Arachnid would be destroyed by battle, the equipped monster is destroyed instead. I have Black Rose Dragon, pretty much used in any deck that uses quite a lot of Synchro monsters. Would I get into a dangerous situation, Black Rose Dragon can just nuke the field and destroy everything. I have Black Armor Master, a monster that cannot be destroyed by battle, and you don't take battle damage from this card either. It has a very useful effect that, as it plays a wedge counter on the opponent, and then is able to reduce their attack and defense to 0 until the end phase. So another monster might be able to destroy that. Z-Man the Ape King, the strongest Dark Synchro monster that I have in this deck. Notice that this time I used Dark Synchro as like the evil Dark Synchro from the anime and the OCG, not the fact that it's the Dark attribute, because it's not, it's an Earth. But all these Frozen Fitzgerald, Arachnid, and Z-Man have one effect in common, that if they attack, the opponent can't activate any spells or traps until the end of the damage step. An effect which I really like in monsters. Agent Gear Golem has that as well. I really like that effect, and they all have like this little extra effect, because if the opponent declares an attack, Z-Man can send one monster from their hand or side of the field to the grave to negate the attack. So if you have any monster, let's say Manny the Rock, Grasschopper, Obelisk, whatever in your hand, you can negate any attack. Stardust, for clear reasons that it can negate a destruction effect by tributing itself, and then it can special summon itself back in the end phase. One Blackwing Dragons would the opponent use like burn strategies. Rat Dragon Archfiend would the opponent use like stall strategies with defense monsters. And seeing as we have Xyz monsters here, I decided to throw in one Utopia and one Shark Drake. Utopia for obvious reasons, Shark Drake because I like its effect. Don't use the Xyz monsters that often because this deck is made for Synchros, but they might just be helpful at some point. In the side deck I have Mage Power to increase my attack. Same with United We Stand. One extra copy of Swords, an extra copy of Synchro Boost. One Descending Lost Star. Similar to Wicked Rebirth, it revives a Synchro from the graveyard, only its level is reduced by 1. So it can be used for a different Synchro than with Wicked Rebirth. Skill Drain, usually don't use that because my effects are helpful, but like, might the opponent really be so much based on their effects that without their effects the opponent can't do shit? Then I will use this because I can do without my effects, even though they're really helpful. One Solemn Judgment to negate a lot of stuff. One Torrential Tribute to destroy monsters. One Widespread Ruin to destroy a monster that attacks. One Chaos King Archfiend as a Synchro monster that requires a Fiend type tuner, which Dark Resonator is. And yeah, Sinister Sprocket is that as well. Colossal Fighter for attack power. Like if you have warriors like Junk Synchron in the graveyard, it gets even more, and it can revive itself if it's destroyed by battle. And then I have Leviathan Dragon, Acid Golem, and Utopia Ray in the side deck. I guess I'll tell you, just before I end this, I'm going to tell you the differences with the original deck. Now clearly there's 2 Hane-Hanes instead of 1 Hane-Hane and 1 Blade Rabbit, because I haven't done that in my other deck yet. Furthermore, in the main deck there is ESPer Star Sparrow and Obelisk the Tormentor instead of 2 of the Earthbound Immortals, Chukapakapu and Chakuchalua. This deck has level tuning, Shard of Greed, Synchro Blast Wave, Sword of Revealing Light, and Synchro Boost instead of the World Championship deck's 2 times Speed Spell Overboost, a second Scapegoat, and 2 traps Speed Booster. And then this deck only has a side deck of 2 cards, which are Scrap Dragon and a second Z-Man, the Ape King. And then in the extra deck, I have a Blackwing Silverwind the Ascendant instead of one of these 2 Xyz monsters. But I've never really brought that monster out. The other level 8 Synchros were more helpful, so I decided to not use that in this deck. And furthermore, this deck has Chaos King Archfiend, which is this monster, also in the extra deck, because sometimes it's helpful, and I can bring it out. Right, guys, I believe this has been quite a long video. I wonder how much time this has used, but yeah, especially, it's my first time doing a deck profile, and I want to do it in detail, tell about a lot, and wow. Good thing I just finished. I should be able to see from the time that this video took how much time it takes to get you a timeout on Dueling Network. Wow, I just finished. What a timing. Okay, guys, this was deck request number 1 by goldenflame295, the Dark Synchro deck profile. And he also requested to see a deck profile of my opponent's deck. I'll see if I can have him do that. But yeah, goldenflame295, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any more requests for decks you'd like to see me do a deck profile of, tell me. Alright, guys, I'll see you later.